What's up, horror lovers? Buckle up, because tonight's tale reeks of damp limestone, candle smoke, and that cold metal tang you get when fear short-circuits your taste buds. Picture a centuries-old Irish college, think Hogwarts, but with guilt, where rebel blood once sluiced across the stairwells during the 1798 uprising. Now fast forward to the present. Exams over, corridors hollow as a crypt after visiting hours. Our narrator, a history major with more curiosity than common sense, decides it's a swell idea to poke the restless dead with a bargain bin spirit radio app. Spoiler, the dead poke back hard. First, let's talk the setting. The main entrance splits like a forked tongue. Rightward lie the dining hall, library, and a meditation nook that definitely needs a rebrand after tonight. Leftward yawns an older wing packed with crooked stone steps and a portrait so big it probably still whispers confessions from every hand that painted it. Above that relic gallery sits a lecture room no one uses after dusk, perfect for channeling ghosts, or, igniting a lifetime supply of nightmares. Rain strafes the Gothic windows, and the sun has bailed early, leaving only bruised twilight. Cue the goosebumps. Our fearless fool clambers into that forgotten classroom, clutching Ghost Box E1. Spirit EVP, the paranormal equivalent of buying sushi from a gas station. He fires up the static-soaked app, whispering the usual seance small talk. Is anyone here? Will midterms ever end? Minutes drag by. Silence. The room cools another degree, the air smelling faintly of wet wool and old prayers. On try number umpteen, something bleeds through the speaker, a breathy phrase in Irish. Imithdia, diameter. God is gone. Funny how two words can sucker punch your faith harder than a theology midterm. He's already stuffing the app back into his bag when the lecture hall door yawns wide and slams shut so violently the hinges screech like rusted violins. Paralysis hits, blood-iced, heartbeat on a bongo solo. One staggering step, then another. He bolts for the landing. Stone steps spiral down like a giant spine, each tread echoing his rubbery legs. Mid-descent, the door upstairs detonates into a frenzy. Bang, bang, bang. A relentless percussion that rattles dusty chandeliers. And then the scream. Guttural, Carrie-accented, older than the Republic itself. Words melt into fury. Rage ricocheting down the stairwell, hot and wet as fresh gunpowder. The chase becomes auditory. Every slammed door a drumbeat, every echo a phantom footfall. Our narrator stumbles through archways, tears slicking his cheeks, vision tunneling at the edges. Out the main doors, into the sodden street. Freedom never tasted so carbonated. He gulps a vending machine Pepsi like it's holy water, palms still vibrating with leftover adrenaline. Behind him, the college looms, its dark windows staring back, smug as a cat after knocking a vase. Somewhere inside, that lecture hall door finally stills, or maybe it's just catching its breath. But liberty has its price. Night after night, sleep plays hide and seek, and always wins. Blankets rise like Kevlar shields. The slightest draft feels like phantom fingers combing his hair. 5 hours of shut-eye is a jackpot. Sunrise at 4 a.m. is a lifeline. Friends chalk it up to overwork. Family suggests chamomile tea and maybe less Reddit. None of them smelled that antique rage, tasted that iron-rich dread. None of them heard God abandon the premises in fluent Gaelic. He's tried logic, prayed Hail Marys, even Googled, does Guinness repel ghosts? Spoiler, only if you lob the can. Each lonely dusk, the college's silhouette colonizes his mind, and the question returns, hungry. What if I left the door open between worlds? His sanity's fraying like a cheap rosary, beads scattering in the dark. And still, the stone steps wait, patient as tombstones, daring him to climb back up and apologize. So, my brave viewers, let this be your cautionary sermon. Curiosity might not kill the cat, but it sure can give the student a lifelong case of insomnia. When history bleeds into the present, sometimes the smartest major is self-preservation. Next time you feel the itch to just try a ghost hunting app, remember our sleepless friend and ask yourself, do you really want proof that God clocked out? Because if he's off duty, guess who's working overtime? Ready to dive deep into a twisted tale? Grab your blankets, turn off the lights, and let's walk through the steps of terror. We're heading to a coastal college town where everything seems perfect at first. Beautiful beaches, a shiny new dorm, and the excitement of starting a new chapter. But behind the shiny veneer of campus life lurks something far darker, something that will make our protagonist question if they'll ever leave the school alive. Our story begins with a fresh high school graduate, excited for college life. The thrill of moving away from home, away from family and friends. She settled into her new two-person dorm room, nothing too fancy, but a small kitchenette. So she felt lucky. That is until she had to face the communal bathrooms. Nothing overtly terrifying at first glance, just cracked tiles, yellowed grout, and an unsettling feeling whenever she entered. But when you're there alone, at night, the silence thickens, and those cracks seem like something more than just age. As the days went by, her excitement began to wear off. The constant feeling of being watched lingered in every corner of the campus. Nothing too obvious at first, just that slight sense of unease, like someone's eyes are always on her. She shrugged it off as stress, but then things started to escalate. Her mind started to unravel with nightmares so vivid, they felt like warnings. She'd be sitting in a lecture hall, everything dark and cold. As she looked around, the room would be empty. Then, the lights would flicker out, followed by the buzz of a chainsaw, a sound that would grow louder and closer until she could barely move. The worst part, a man in white, with a grin so sinister, would be coming toward her slowly, drilling toward her, each time, getting closer and closer. But hey, it was just stress, right? That's what she told herself. Everyone gets nightmares. The transition to college wasn't easy. She was just adjusting. But when her friends invited her to explore a long-abandoned wing of the campus, she felt the pull of adventure, a little off-the-beaten-path excitement. What could go wrong, right? It was just an old wing, a few ghost stories, and some strange legends floating around campus. At least, that's what she thought. That night, things took a darker turn. She woke up the next morning to missed calls and texts from her friends, asking where she was. Panic set in as she tried to reach them. No answer. Something wasn't right. She went to their dorms, knocked on their doors, nothing. They were gone. Just like that. But when she got to campus, the scene that awaited her was worse than she could have imagined. Police tape, crowds, whispers of something terrible. A janitor had found her friends' bodies, ripped apart, scattered like some twisted painting. What really hit her was the last text from her friend Alex. "Guess you're not coming. We'll bring you a souvenir." What did that mean? Detective Collins explained it was an accident, but there was one thing he couldn't tell her David. David had been with them too, but no traces were found of him. No DNA, no footprints. Where was he? What had happened that night? As she was led away from the scene, her mind reeled with questions. Too many questions, and no answers. The nightmares came back worse than ever. They weren't just dreams anymore, they were memories. She started seeing things. Shadows, reflections of her friends, and worse still, the familiar face of that doctor. Every time she closed her eyes, the nightmare played out again. That old lecture hall, the horrific buzzing, the scream, her name, begging for help. But that wasn't all. No, this time, the dream had changed. This time, she was trapped in an old and used lecture hall. The air was thick with the scent of decay. She couldn't move, couldn't breathe. But the drill kept coming closer. She tripped, fell, and looked back to see that doctor grinning, his eyes locked onto hers. This time, it was different. There was someone else on the table, Sarah. Her face twisted in terror as the doctor advanced toward her, the drill gleaming. But before he could reach her, "Wake up!" She woke with a scream, cold sweat dripping down her face. The bruises on her temple were just as real as the terror she felt. But when she looked in the mirror, something changed. She saw a bruise forming on her temple, exactly where she had fallen in her dream. The line between nightmare and reality had begun to blur. Unable to shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong, she took a shower to calm herself. But the terror followed her. The familiar sound of shuffling footsteps echoed in the silent bathroom. She froze, not daring to look, her heart pounding in her chest. What was it? Who was it? She had to see. But when she peeked around the shower curtain, nothing was there. Relief. But as she turned to turn off the water, a grotesque figure loomed above her. Carla. But not Carla. Her limbs were twisted, contorted at unnatural angles. Her neck snapped like a broken doll. Her dead eyes locked onto her, and the whispered words came through like poison. Run. The fear that gripped her wasn't just a passing moment of terror. No, it was something real, something that wouldn't let go. She screamed, ran, and collapsed into the corner of her dorm room, rocking back and forth in shock. But even in her numbness, she knew something. Something had followed her from the campus. Something she couldn't outrun. Tonight's tale crawls straight out of real life and sinks its teeth into the soft flesh of memory. Ever feel that shiver when the news drops another headline about some campus tragedy and a sly voice whispers, "What if it's him?" Matt lives with that voice every single day because some scars never scab over. They just keep bleeding in the dark. No fanged demons here, only a flesh and bone predator who learned to stalk the digital shadows long before the rest of us knew they existed. So pour something strong and brace for 8 doses of sober dread, each sharper than the last. Ready? Good. Hold my hand. The first step back into sophomore year is a long one. Meet Matt, 19, half marinated in cheap whiskey and late essays, freshly sprung from the dorms into a peeling New Jersey duplex where sirens serve as lullabies. 6 overconfident guys in one house, 6 wild-eyed girls in the twin next door, and Alyssa, the daredevil sister figure who drags Matt into every stunt that tastes remotely like the college experience. For 2 euphoric weeks, their world is a blur of rooftop naps, blackout parties, and academic apathy thick enough to butter toast. Then comes the first red flag, printed on flimsy yellow paper. Perfect massage, free workshop tonight. Alyssa's eyes sparkle. Matt's gut growls a low warning. The seminar reeks of stale social anxiety, while frat boys elbow for a license to grope and freshmen angle for friends. One figure crouches on the tile, like a broken marionette. He calls himself TJ, though he won't really call himself anything at all. Legs hugged to chest, gaze stapled to the floor. He's less student than landmine. Fate pairs Alyssa on his mat. Matt flirts across the room, but can't shake the chill each time he catches TJ's unblinking stare. Class ends, introductions fizzle. TJ's lips barely move. He just absorbs Alyssa with predatory silence, then evaporates into the hallway. Somewhere in that exit, a lock clicks shut, though no one notices until it's far too late. Dawn detonates 5 emails in Alyssa's inbox, 5 aliases, same obsession. "Hi, it's TJ, are you free tonight?" Right back. Facebook request from Joe Simpson. She never gave him her address, yet here he is. Her polite lie. Protective boyfriend, sorry. Doesn't slow him. The aliases multiply like maggots. Henry Ford, John Jones, Jim Carrey, each clawing at a private favorite of hers. How does he know her actor crush, her playlist, her dog-eared novel? Every ignored message spawns 3 more, and the tone rots from needy puppy to toxic rage. Your boyfriend cheats. Dump him and I'll make you safe. Behind each click, TJ sharpens an invisible knife, thinning the digital walls of Alyssa's life to rice paper. Then the phone rings at 2 a.m. The nightmare grows a voice, first soft breaths, then monologues about politics, biology, the exact color of Alyssa's bedroom curtains. He shouldn't know those curtains exist, yet he describes them perfectly. One midnight text drops like a guillotine. Her street address, nothing more. 2 words that yank gravity out of the world. Alyssa flees to the boy's house, clutching a duffel and a caffeine-fueled heartbeat. 6 testosterone-soaked roommates scoff. What's one creep against their drunken bravado? They fortify the couch with bravado and beer. Unaware TJ isn't outside the circle. He's already memorized every creak in their floorboards. Snow drifts like confetti from a vengeful sky when Matt staggers home, shirt glued to damp skin. On the porch stands TJ, icicles gleaming in his hair, a steel baton in one fist, and, God help them, the spare key in the other. His voice is a customer service recording. "Hi, my name is Henry Ford. Do you know where 48 High Street is?" The smile that follows looks painted on with funeral wax. Matt's rebuttal barely forms before iron smashes his ribs. Pain erupts white-hot. Instinct swings a drunken fist that cracks TJ's mask into a howler monkey shriek. The predator bolts into whirling snow, leaving Matt kneeling, purple-ribbed, and very sober under porch lights that feel a decade too late. Cops shrug at absent witnesses, tut about intoxication, and TJ sidesteps charges like a ghost dodging bullets. The university quietly expels him, an exile that feels triumphant until silence stretches just long enough to relax everyone's shoulders. Emails dwindle, calls taper, patrol cars stop circling, bandages come off, knives go back in drawers. Months slip by. Alyssa relearns laughter, Matt relearns sleep. Yet once in a while the phone barks at moonlit hours, with voicemails oscillating between philosophy lectures and feral screams. Like a fever that never truly breaks, TJ hovers in the ducts of their lives, too faint to treat, too stubborn to forget. Years later, 11:47 p.m. on a random Tuesday, a Facebook ping pulses from the dark. Henry Ford. Did you miss me? Help me find her, or I'll find you. 9 words drip like battery acid, proving monsters don't hide under beds. They lurk in cached data and forgotten friend lists. Matt's shaky reply is short and defiant. Will it stop anything? No. But sometimes the only weapon left is the scream you hurl back into the void. No silver cuffs, no courtroom closure, just a reminder that evil can log off, update, and log back in whenever it pleases. So, horror lovers, check your locks, audit those privacy settings, and remember, if silence falls tonight, listen harder, because TJ never blinks, and he is still out there. The story I'm about to tell you will make your skin crawl. And I swear, every single word of this is true. If you don't believe me, you can always ask my roommates. They'll back me up. This is something that really happened, and it's not just some bar tale. It all started when I moved to Louisville, Kentucky, to attend college. Between the university and the lively downtown area, there's a neighborhood known as Old Louisville. And when I say old, I mean old. A mix of beautifully decorated, yet horribly neglected, historic mansions built in the late 1800s and beyond. The catch: most of them were converted into apartments by lazy landlords who did a horrible job remodeling. You could tell they were once grand homes, but now they felt eerie and neglected. I lived in one of these mansions with 3 roommates, 2 girls and a guy. We had a 3-bedroom, 2-story apartment in a mansion that was probably over 2,500 square feet. It was huge. Way too big for 4 college students. And the rent? Insane. Just $200 per person, utilities included. The apartment had 2 floors, a massive front door, and even a stained glass window in one of the landings. The place was a mess, but we didn't care. It was a steal, and we had no idea what was really hiding inside that house. Now, one thing you need to know about our apartment. There was a staircase leading to a basement. At first, we didn't pay much attention to it. It was dark, dusty, and blocked by paint cans and random junk. We figured the landlord would clean it up when we moved in, but he never did. So we all just forgot about it. That is, until one night we decided to get drunk and play hide and seek. We worked the same graveyard shift at a warehouse, so we were always getting home late, around 4 or 5 in the morning. Our 4th roommate had a boyfriend and usually stayed with him during the night. So between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m., it was just the 3 of us in this gigantic house. That's when things started to disappear. Not normal stuff like socks or clothes, but cleaning supplies, bowls, spoons, and even full, unopened packages of toilet paper would vanish. At first, we laughed it off, but after a few weeks, it got weirder. I'm talking about a weird, unsettling feeling that started growing in the house, especially when we were alone. It's hard to explain, but it was like you could feel someone else walking around when you were trying to sleep. Someone you definitely didn't invite. And I'm telling you, that's when the fears started creeping in. One night, after a party with a bunch of our friends, I had the brilliant idea to play hide and seek. Everyone was drunk, so no one questioned it. I went around turning off every light, making sure the house was dark and creepy. But then I noticed something strange. The light in the back staircase, The one leading to the basement was still on. I couldn't let that slide. I yelled for Q to grab his gun. I know. Dumb decision. Drunk college kid with a gun in a house full of people. And come check it out with me. Liquid courage, man. It gave me the nerve to confront whatever the hell was down there. We were tired of being scared in our own home. So we made our way down the old staircase, pushing through spider webs and dust, and we saw the light was indeed coming from the basement. But here's the thing. A screen door was blocking the entrance. It looked like our landlord had sealed it off with caulk. So, with a little bit of force, we pried it open. I let Q take the lead because, well, he had a gun, and I was just hoping to survive the night. As we descended the stairs, the air felt heavy. We reached the basement, and it opened up into a huge space. The first thing I noticed was a lamp sitting on a busted table next to a disgusting mattress. It looked like someone had been living down here. And when Q tripped over a box, we all froze. Hundreds of used needles spilled out onto the floor. That's when it hit us. Someone was living in our basement. Someone had been stealing our supplies. They had been right under our feet the whole time. We spread out, poking around the basement. An old, wooden TV with bent antennas. A photo album with pictures of strangers. Then I found something that made my blood run cold. A manila folder, clean and new, sitting under the table. I opened it and saw prison release papers. The mugshot of a man, along with charges for assault, drug trafficking, and domestic violence. He'd been released 2 months ago. That's when we called the cops. The police came, and after a quick investigation, they found a hidden door that led to the back of the house, one we'd never used. The guy had been sneaking in through there and stealing from us while we were out. It was his way of surviving in that filthy basement. The weirdest part? I went back to the house a week after we told the landlord we were moving out, just to grab a few things. When I got there, the front door was wide open, and I could see a light on in my bedroom. I decided to leave everything behind. Whatever was going on there, I didn't want to be a part of it anymore. The house is abandoned now. No one lives there. And honestly, I don't think anyone should. Some things are better left undisturbed. And that place? Well, it definitely had secrets. The moral of the story? Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong in your home, you might be right. And always check the places you ignore. You never know what's lurking beneath your feet.